What's up, guys, and welcome back to Back Pocket Topics. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Scott.
And today we have a very, very special episode for you guys with two very distinguished guests joining us on the pod for the first time. If you two want to introduce yourselves, go right ahead.
Yeah, what's good, y'all? My name's Moulik. I'm honored to be joining Back Pocket Topics for the first time. So thank you for having me over, Cooper and Scott.
For sure.
I'm Ryan Gleeson. Thank you for having me, Scott and Cooper. We'll have some good sports topics to talk about today.
We know both Moulik and Ryan Gleeson from school, and so we're gonna have guests on in the future episodes as well. But Ryan and Moulik wanted to be the first ones on, so we're gonna start off with just the Wildcard recap, and then move on to a little bit of a rant, and then move on to some top 5 players in the NBA, just for a little bit of change of pace. Mm-hmm. So, Cooper, I'll let you get us started with the 49ers versus the Seahawks.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is going to go in chronological order. One of us will probably intro the game, and then everyone will give their little input, how they feel about it. Since I'm starting off talking about Niners in Seattle, I'm just going to go straight back to what I was saying in our last episode. The 49ers looked exactly like the team we thought they were. They looked pretty dominant throughout the whole game. I thought Brock Purdy played amazing. Obviously, Scott's going to give Shanahan a lot of the credit. It's easy to give guys like McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo credit too. But just all in all, I think the 49ers, it was close for a little bit, which you can expect in a interdivision matchup. But by the end of the game, you could just see that the 49ers were by far the better team.
Honestly, they put up more points. The Seahawks put up more points than I was expecting. I expected the Niners defense to be a little bit more locked down, that pass rush to get in there, be a little more disruptive, and just Talanoa Hufanga, he made an all-pro team. Granted, should he have made that team over Derwin James? Definitely not, but he's definitely a very talented player, and they've got talented players throughout that secondary and in the linebacker core, and very well-coached team. So I just expected them to just kind of eat the Seahawks alive. But to Geno Smith's credit, he stood in there, had a pretty solid game, threw for over 250 yards, had a nice deep shot to DK Metcalf, and it was just they performed better than I was expecting. But at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan was able to make an incredible game plan, and receivers were wide open across the field. Brock Purdy was playing very well. He had a couple of really good improvisational plays, but also just great plays in the flow of the offense. And the 49ers are looking like a scary team. Moulik, Gleeson, anything to add?
No, I think you guys pretty much hit it. The 49ers are just loaded on both sides of the ball. And, when you have the coaching schemes of, Mike Shanahan, it makes Brock Purdy's life a lot easier. He's, kind of able to steer it through. I think Brock Purdy made some really good throws, this past weekend, but I think there's still a few throws where he's, taking some risks that, might not be rewarded playing against the Cowboys. But I think apart from that, really solid game overall.
Mr. Relevant played one hell of a football game. Kyle Shanahan didn't scheme it up very well for him. And it helps that he has the pieces around him like George Kittle and Debo Samuel, who had a great game this weekend coming back from his injury later in the season that he had. And Christian McCaffrey just showing the NFL who he is and not being injured this year was huge for the 49ers. It was probably the most important trade of the season. And then on defense, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, they get it done for him. Nick Bosa get him pass rush all the time, and Fred Warner's the best linebacker in the NFL. It's not even close.
Agreed.
Sure.
I will say though, that one Brock Purdy throw that people were that one account was saying, "Oh, what a throw by Brock Purdy!" But then it's inaccurate. Yeah. He's leading inside. It was he basically throws a kill shot to his receiver.
Right.
Throws like that, if against a secondary, like the Cowboys, for example, if that's Trevon Diggs with the ball skills that Trevon Diggs has or whatever, you need to have more pinpoint accuracy than that if you're going to be able to hit those throws down the field against the Cowboys in the divisional. But at the end of the day, they got it done this week. So, and they're moving on to the divisional, and with the way they're playing, they're one of the more impressive teams in the entire wildcard weekend. So, yeah. But we'll move on to the next game, which is the Jags-Chargers.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll let Moulik or Ryan, do you guys want to start us on this one? Or
yeah, sure, I'll go ahead. So I mean, it was a tale of two halves. You had 27-0 in the first half with about 27 seconds left to go, and then you had 31-30 on a game-winning field goal. There's nothing much for me to say about this. I picked the Jags to win that game. Now, I didn't think that this could happen based on Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 picks in the first half, and then ending up throwing 4 touchdowns. But the Jags got it done, and Doug Peterson was just a better coach on that field that night. I don't think there's any question about it for anyone.
Not that hard to do. Coach Brandon Staley.
I would definitely say Doug Peterson showed us the coach he is, like he did when he brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl. He looked like his old coaching self, unlike the last few years he had in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence staying undefeated on Saturday football. Whenever he plays on Saturday, I ain't picking against him, that's for sure, respectfully. And then that Chargers team, the people to blame is Brandon Staley. He coached a terrible game. He chose to play Mike Williams and Joey Bosa in Week 18 when he shouldn't have, because they already had their position locked up in the playoffs. Mike Williams was hurt. I think he would have been a huge difference maker in this game. And Joey Bosa was losing it during this game. And I don't blame him, because he was getting frustrated with his team. And when your defense gets 5 turnovers, you should be able to win a football game. It has never happened in NFL history where a team has had 5 turnovers and they've lost. I mean, that was just pathetic, that second half from the Chargers.
it really shows the inability to run the football on the Chargers side of things. Like when you're up 28 points or 27 points in a game, you should be able to just run the football, pound it down the opponent's throat, waste time, move methodically down the field. You don't have to score 27 points again that half, but just score 10 points and waste a ton of clock. But the Chargers have one of the worst rushing attacks, and really it was a one-man show. Like it was Justin Herbert versus the entire Jaguars defense, and Justin Herbert, he could have looked a little bit better, but like he didn't look horrible. The main problem was just, Austin Eckler is not a good running back. He's a good receiving back, but he can't run the ball to save his life, and fantasy football makes him way more relevant than he actually is. And then on the flip side of things, they just didn't have a deep passing attack at all. Like every single one of their receivers, like it's been very well documented on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, on anything, that the Chargers just have no good receivers right now. Keenan Allen probably owns a 4.9 40. Mike Williams is always hurt, and then apart from that, they have nobody. They have to target. They really should target someone in this draft. I have not looked too deeply into the receivers yet, but a receiver like Jalen Hyatt or a receiver like Jordan Addison could definitely add a very good explosive part to this offense that will be desperately needed. But just looking at Brandon Staley's point of things, I think that Brandon Staley is a very good defensive mind, but I don't think he's a good head coach. Obviously, he made a terrible decision to play his guys. I think the offensive coordinator should be fired, but I think Brandon Staley should definitely be on the hot seat, but I'm not completely sold on him being fired, but I think he should there's definitely a case for him to be fired, is what I'm saying.
No, with all due respect, Brandon Staley needs to get his ass out of Los Angeles. There's no way that as a team you go into the second half up 20-plus points, and you know how many rushing yards they had in that second half? You already touched on this. -3.
Wow.
-3 rushing yards the entire second half. And yeah, we've been touching on the fact that Eckler might not be as good as a running back that fantasy football and his like receiving numbers make him out to be, that can't be his fault. Not entirely, at least. I don't think they were running the ball enough in general in the second half. And Brandon Staley has been getting a lot of hate lately, but I do think that it's justified. I feel like if I loaded into a Madden game up 20 points with a half to go, I could have managed a better football game. I don't understand how, like, I don't know. How does that even happen?
Yeah, to give your starting running back 13 carries in the entire game when you're up 27 points at one point is just a little questionable, little head scratching.
Yeah, and I will say before we move on to the next game, I think one play that if Justin Herbert could take back in the third quarter, he overshot Keenan Allen in the end zone. I think it was on third down. Keenan Allen sets the block, and then he goes straight in, and he's wide open, and Herbert just overshot him. I think that play, if there's one play you can take back from the Chargers side of things, that's the one play you'd want back, because that maybe could have just changed the landscape of things for the Jaguars in terms of their mindset. I also think that Brandon Staley, who has made a name for himself for going on fourth down, just got way too conservative. You went for field goals that normally in the regular season you're going for fourth downs all the time. That's your calling card. Go for it at that point, because you see the Jaguars are coming back, and take that risk. Go on that fourth down. You have Justin Herbert as your quarterback. Take that risk. If you get a first down, you hold off the Jaguars from getting that ball back.
Yeah, no. And one other thing, Brandon Staley was way too conservative in that game, just like Malik said. He needs to grow a pair of balls and start throwing the ball deep with that team. You have Justin Herbert, top 3 arm talent in the league, can put the ball anywhere, can throw the ball anywhere on the field as far as he can, and you're just running check downs with him to Austin Eckler the whole game, or slants to Keenan Allen. Like, that's just not good football, and it would happen in a few other games this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, you say, Scott, you were talking about like the lack of wide receiver depth and like the deep game in general. I feel like I'm thinking of a specific guy that's a pretty good deep threat that, maybe would have played in that playoff game if Staley hadn't trotted him out there in a meaningless Week 18 game. So just horrible management of injuries, horrible management of the clock. And, I mean, give credit to the Jaguars, man. They stuck around. It's pretty easy to give up like that. Trevor Lawrence, despite a rough first half, I think he definitely turned it around in the second half.
And one other thing.
It shows really good mental toughness on the team of the Jaguars, and just really good coaching. They're a really well-coached team to be able to turn that around.
And one thing that I think is going unnoticed right now is actually Travis Etienne. I think his injury last year really set him back, obviously, but he's come onto the scene for that Jaguars team, and he's given them the spark they've needed. And Trevor Lawrence and him having that connection is wonderful. And that third down play to end the game when he ran, or I think it was third or fourth down, I don't remember correctly.
I think it was fourth down.
Fourth down. They ran the ball to Etienne. He just hit the Jets, got to the outside, got a 25-yard gain, set him up for a chip shot field goal, and not missing it like the Cowboys did today, that's for sure.
I can't believe how many extra points they missed today.
Well, hey, we'll get to that. I think we've touched all the bases on that game. We can move on to Bills-Dolphins. I can just intro real quick. I mean, this was a game that Scott and I talked about it. I would imagine that the majority of NFL fans would think that this was just going to be an absolute blowout. I mean, I want to say that the Dolphins were the biggest playoff underdog of all time. I'm pretty sure. And they were able to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just really sloppy football from like Josh Allen having 3 turnovers this game, 2 picks and a fumble, I believe. And just like the Dolphins offense was not very like explosive. They weren't very good either. Like Skylar Thompson had 2 picks as well. And really it was the Dolphins defense and just the defense just capitalizing on turnovers. That was how they were able to score 31 points. Like if you just watch that offense, weren't moving the ball well. They weren't really doing anything particularly well, but they just capitalized on the Bills' turnovers. And yeah, they blitzed Josh Allen a lot, I'm pretty sure, and just forced him into some errors. That's what's holding Josh Allen back from being the best quarterback in football, or even a top 2 quarterback. Like Joe Burrow is definitely playing like the better quarterback right now, and Justin Herbert probably not better than Josh Allen, but definitely starting to enter that conversation. And I don't know. The Bills had a lot of explosive plays, like both Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs threw for over 100 yards. Josh Allen threw for like 350, but it was just a sloppy game on his part, turning the ball over a ton. And yeah, Moulik, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just had, 2 main takeaways from this game. One, Josh Allen, as high are the peaks, as low are, the lows. And that's really what describes him. I mean, that throw to Stephon Diggs from, one hash all the way to the other one. I mean, that's throw maybe only he can make in the league. But on the flip side of things, and I just found this out today, Josh Allen had a combined over 30 fumbles plus interceptions in the league. That's by far the most over Dak Prescott and Justin Fields. By the way, played for a team with basically no receivers.
There you go.
So that's the story with Josh Allen at this point is, the talent is there. He has all the tangibles in the world, but, it's the decision making that's going to, really change the game for the Bills, when they play the Bengals this weekend. As far as the Dolphins go, I think, Mike McDaniel shot that team, in the foot, with the late play calls, they let the clock run out so many times. And it's just, I don't understand what was going on, but, they were just completely not in sync. And Skylar Thompson got screwed over because of, late play calls coming in from Mike McDaniel at the very last second.
Yeah, no. So takeaways I got from this game are the Bills' offense is very good, but way too sloppy. Stephon Diggs is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. He showed it in this game with having the most receiving yards out of anybody. And that Bills defense, as injured as they are, they played a very good game for them with how injured they've been. Their secondary is destroyed. They don't have Von Miller, so they don't have a pass rush. And on the Dolphins side, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can't be dropping that many footballs. They are 2 top 10 receivers in the league. Jalen Waddle, maybe not top 10, but at least top 15. They should not be dropping all those footballs. That was very bad on their part. And for the coaching from Mike McDaniel, I think the reason why he was struggling to get the play calls out was because he's too busy hitting his vape on the sideline, which I thought was hilarious when I saw that. I was like, there's no way this man is hitting a vape on the sideline. You gotta have some balls to do that, but but I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, Skylar Thompson, I wasn't expecting anything from him. I mean, 2 interceptions. I honestly thought he was going to throw 3 to 4 in this game. Even though with those receivers, I thought that Bills defense would come a little bit better. And yeah, no, there wasn't too much exciting besides for the fact that this game took 4 to 5 hours, and it was the longest game ever. I was like, how is this game not over yet? And I was like, I'm checking the score every so often. I'm like, wait, it's 34 to 31. I'm like, how are the Dolphins about to win this game? Like, it was very interesting to say the least.
For sure. And honestly, for me, by the end of it, I was kind of just rooting for absolute chaos. Just see if the Dolphins could pull off the win, ruin Scott's bracket. That would have been great. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like you guys touched on a lot of the main points. Realistically, if it weren't for that sloppy play by the Bills offense, the Dolphins had no business even being in that game. And yeah, I think that just all in all, that's something that the Bills, if they're going to, continue to be seen as this like contender, obviously they're a contender, they're the 2 seed, they're still in the playoffs. They really, really, really have to clean up their play on offense. Especially, I would imagine that their next game against the Bengals is going to be an absolute shootout. And to score as many points to keep up with that Cincinnati offense, you got to play some good football.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely gonna be a really fun game between the Bills and the Bengals next week. But yeah, let's move on to
I just got one more thing to say. Actually, I forgot about this point.
Go for it.
That Bills offense right now is missing Brian Dable. Brian Dable was the reason that offense was so well-oiled last year, weren't making mistakes because he's a great offensive coordinator, great coach, and I think they're really missing him this year, especially. If they have Brian Dable, I think they're winning the Super Bowl, no doubt about it this year.
I think the person that missed him the most was definitely Josh Allen, for sure. I mean, he still had a good year. Obviously, it's Josh Allen, but I do think that the way that Dable was able to scheme things up for him and make things as easy for him as possible last year wasn't seen as much this year.
Yeah, while being able to being able to build an offense like that to be able to make it easy for him while capitalizing on his strengths and making sure he can still throw the ball downfield and just be Josh Allen was just really incredible. And they're definitely missing it a lot. But this is a perfect segue to go from the Bills, Brian Dable, to the New York Giants, who are very, very, very grateful that Brian Dable is now their head coach because he is the coach of the year this year and coached an incredible playoff game in his first playoff game as a head coach, just making Daniel Jones's life really easy. But Daniel Jones still played really well, throwing for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, really efficient football, and just good. Yeah, Daniel Jones is running well. He's passing well. Isaiah Hodgins is getting involved really out of nowhere. And Isaiah Hodgins, I don't know if you guys saw, but Isaiah Hodgins posted a picture of his ankle before the game. It was literally swollen. Like before the game, his ankle was swollen to like the size of a balloon, and it was like all bruised up and he still was able to go out there and put up 100 yards. That just shows the will and the how much this team wants it. Like they struggled with injuries throughout this game too. Like there was times Kayvon Thibodeau was hurt, Azeez Ojulari got ruled out for the game. That's both of their edge rushers gone. But they were able to still stick in there, and they really were able to shut down the Vikings. They held Justin Jefferson to under 50 receiving yards in a playoff game, which was definitely part of the game plan going in. And I don't know, Saquon was able to run all over them. They didn't even feed him the ball that much. But when he had the ball, he capitalized on it, having having 2 touchdowns on it and getting involved in the receiving game as well. And just really well-coached game. You can see that this team is inspired. It's going to be really fun to watch the NFC East showdown between the Eagles and the Giants next week.
Yep. I just got one question, but I got to put my glasses on for this. Big Kirko, what happened to this? What happened to this? I got nothing much to say. Kirk Cousins, he played a decent game. He didn't deliver when it matters.
Kirk and Kirk.
Right now in New York, they are calling Daniel Jones 2 Chainz Vanilla Vic right now. That's his new name.
So takeaways I had from this game was that Vikings defense was horrendous. They got injured late in the year. They looked horrible coming down the stretch, and I expected that was going to be their big downfall in the playoffs was their defense. Because that offense is high-powered as it is. The Giants defense keeping JJ's under 50 yards after giving him 130, I think it was, in their first matchup. They knew that what they had to do to win, because that's the reason the Vikings won the first time. If they shut down Justin Jefferson, they knew they could win this game. And I think Kevin O'Connell needs to reevaluate his team this year, because I think they might want to move on from Kirk as quarterback, even though I don't think Kirk had a bad game, but I think he's not enough of an impact player on the Vikings to make any big plays when needed. And it showed in the last play of the game. He checked it down. I mean, McConnell doing 2 corner routes with 2 checkdowns on the last play of the game was pretty dumb in my opinion, because you're not giving him any options. Defense, that's the easiest thing to cover on the last play of the game. They know you want to go on the outside. If you don't put anyone over the middle, they're going to stop it. And Brian Dable, oh my God, is he the greatest coach this season? Like, it's showing, like, this Giants team was expected to go 3-4 or 3 to 4 wins at most this year. Scott, don't laugh at me.
I got a little confused there, Ryan.
Yeah, I know. I said it wrong. But, I mean, he turned this team around. He got some fire in their stomachs or something because they started out the season hot. They ended the season not so great, but they started turning it on at the right time. And let's just say the last time the Giants won their first playoff game, they won a Super Bowl. The time before that, they won a Super Bowl as well. So I think they got a pretty good chance of beating the Eagles this weekend, I'd say.
I don't know if I'd call it.
Say win the Super Bowl.
Hey, you never know.
If I'd call it a good chance to beat the Eagles, but I do think that the fact that they're two division rivals is definitely going to play into it. I think the Giants definitely have the most momentum in the playoffs going right now. Definitely just feeling all that energy coming off a big upset. I think they're going to carry that into the next round, and I do think it'll be a close game. I think the Eagles are going to win, but I do think it'll be a close game. As I sat down to watch this game, I watched that first Vikings drive on offense, and Justin Jefferson had like probably 40 yards and what was almost a touchdown on that first drive, and I was just like, "Oh my God, the Giants are screwed. Jefferson's going to eat them up. It's over. This game's over." And then you guys, I mean, everyone touched on it. They shut him down throughout the rest of the game. Obviously, that ended up being key. I do think that Saquon Barkley is reaffirming my take that he's the best running back in the NFL. Scott doesn't agree with that.
No, I agree with that.
No, you said Chubb.
I said, well, that was literally like week 3 when I was still waiting to see what Saquon was going to do. Like I was just being a little conservative, but Saquon is the best running back in football.
Staley.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean,
I just got that right.
The 9 carries for 53 yards, you talked about that. The 2 touchdowns, the involvement in the pass game. But even you can just tell the impact that Saquon has on opposing defenses. Dable did a great job of using Saquon as a gadget on a lot of plays. Like the Giants would fake like they're going to throw it out to Saquon on a little like out route and then turn around and flip a screen pass the other way. Or play action. The whole Vikings front 7 would crash down to try and stop Saquon. But, Daniel Jones throws it out to Hodgins for a 20-yard gain. And that was definitely really, really big. I'm trying to think of what else I missed. Oh, that last play, Kirk Cousins just can't beat the can't win meaningful games allegations. He can't do it. Time and time again, this guy plays out of his noon window in like a random game in Minnesota, and he just shits the bed. It happens every time. I don't understand why you're throwing a little check down on that last play. And Gleeson mentioned the play design might not have been all that good, but just in general, I feel like if the game's on the line, I'm throwing to a top 3 receiver in football. I'm throwing it to the top player on my team. I'm getting Justin Jefferson the ball if the game's on the line. That's just me personally.
Yeah,
number 1 receiver.
Especially because Kirk Cousins' problem has always been his conservativeness to not throw past the sticks on third down. Even if that ball was accurate to Hawkinson at the end of the game, that decision just baffles me because he was still he still had 7 yards to go after he caught that ball in order to even hit the first down, not even just get out of bounds, not even do any of that. 7 yards after breaking a tackle, and the ball needed to be perfect so he could hit it in stride to do it. But instead, rather than just chucking it up to Justin Jefferson, like you said, or Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's a great receiver too, who can come down with some crazy catches. He's got if you look at his highlights through his career, Adam Thielen has come down with some incredible catches. And while you might look at the stat sheet or the box score, Kirk Cousins, he threw a very efficient game, pretty solid box score numbers, but then he just doesn't have that it factor. He doesn't have that dog in him to just make the big time throws in the big time moments. And yeah, that's just what's always held him back from being more than an average quarterback in football. But yeah, we can move on to the Ravens versus the Bengals in the AFC North battle. Does anyone want to get us started on that?
I'll start, actually. The Ravens, they screwed up this offseason. They should have paid Lamar before the season started. That was their fault. They win this game if Lamar is playing, without a doubt, because they kept that game close with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. He fumbles on the 1 yard line. I mean, I don't know why you don't give it to your running back to run it in respectfully. Like Tyler Huntley, I'm not trusting him with the ball with the game on the line. I'm giving it to anybody else on my team. And the Ravens defense is unbelievable. They spent the money there this offseason, or spent the money there paying Roquan Smith. It did help them a lot, but without paying Lamar, it really screwed them over. And on the Bengals side, Joe Burrow, great playoff quarterback. I think he's pretty much the next Brady. I mean, the way he plays, he's a great quarterback. He doesn't lose. He doesn't turn the ball over much. Jamar Chase is a great receiver, and having him on that team helps them so much with that connection with Joe Burrow from college. But I think they need to use T. Higgins and Joe Mixon a little bit more in these games, because those are two players that bring the it factor to that offense. Jamar Chase is going to get double covered in this next game. You need to be able to find T. Higgins and Joe Mixon, and you need to use them. Joe Mixon has been underutilized since his 5-touchdown game earlier on this season, and I think if they lose next week, it's because they didn't involve Joe Mixon and T. Higgins.
Yeah, so you're basically just agreeing with J.K. Dobbins that if Lamar, like, that's such a bold quote by J.K. Dobbins to just basically throw Tyler Huntley under the bus and be like, yo, if we had Lamar, we would have won that game.
He did come back later and say that it wasn't entirely his fault. I feel like a majority of the second, like, if you watch the full clip, he was putting a lot of blame on the coaches as well.
The whole thing seems off there. Like, just the offensive scheme is just so, like, weird. Like, the Ravens are just like such an outlier in the NFL by just being this ground and pound team that will just not, like, Lamar Jackson. This offense built around Lamar Jackson was, like, really successful that 1 year, but, like, since then, I feel like this offense just underperformed each year, and then it's held it back, and then now they're not even going to pay Lamar, maybe. And what are they going to do from there? They're just going to enter a rebuild. They're going to trade Lamar. Who knows? Like, I'm just this whole team just has really weird vibes coming from it, and I'm not sure what to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my biggest question was, does Tyler Huntley think he's Cam Newton and Superman back in the day? I don't know what you're trying to do there. You're not Lamar Jackson. That's a great play that Logan Wilson made. And I will say the Bengals have an underrated defense when you look at it overall. They have some really good players on that side of the ball. I didn't think Joe Burrow played a particularly great game. He played, what he needed to get the win. But I do agree with J.K. Dobbins. You put Lamar in that game, they probably, go home with the win. Now, I wouldn't have made that quote out in public, but that's a story for a different day. But I think where the Ravens stand at this point, yeah, they're, I don't know if they're gonna, franchise tag him. I think the way things are, shaping up, it's headed for a divorce. But at the same time, this is, Lamar has every right to be upset with the Ravens. When you look at the contract that Deshaun's gotten, it's like, Deshaun's done what exactly? Like, he's made a Pro Bowl. Like, what has he exactly done? Yeah, $250 million guarantee. Lamar is an MVP winner. I just don't get why you paid Deshaun that much, but you're not paying Lamar at this point. So, that's just my take on it. But I think the Ravens have a lot of things to do this offseason to get back to doing well in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely easy to say that Lamar is a better person as well. And
I try to avoid that.
Yeah.
I had to bring it up.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you guys touched on a lot of the points that were necessary. I would agree with you, Malik, that Burrow didn't look all that impressive, but he did get the job done, and he did do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we could segue ourselves into tonight's game, the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys. And me personally, I'm just going to sit back and let Gleeson handle this one.
Okay.
If you want to give a little background on why you care so much.
Well, as most people know who are watching this podcast, because most of these kids will be go to from their Palatine, I am a big Brady fan. I started liking him first after the first game of football I watched him destroy the Bears. I was like, I ain't turning back from this quarterback. I ain't watching the Bears. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But watching this game, it was pathetic. I mean, Brady didn't play all that great. He was missing throws, but also the scheme they were putting up on offense was ridiculous. I think they may have had 20 to 30 screen calls in this game, and Micah Parsons was just eating them up on this game. I mean, he was getting pressure on Brady the whole game. They didn't try and help Donovan Smith protect Brady with Leonard Fournette or Rashid White, which they should have, because they needed Brady to get time in the pocket. And then they weren't running anything downfield. Mike Evans had a bunch of targets. He dropped a touchdown pass at the end of the game. He's had these problems all season long. I think Godwin's fumble problem, luckily, didn't get called, but I think it was a fumble. But we were lucky that didn't happen. Dak Prescott played a great game. I'm going to admit that. I thought he was going to have another game like he did against the Commanders. But Todd Bowles, worst NFL coach this season besides for Nathaniel Hackett. He doesn't know how to game plan. His strength is supposed to be defense. He let the Cowboys put up 31 on his head, giving them wide open receivers all night. CeeDee Lamb scores on a wide open touchdown. How is the best player on the Cowboys offense not getting covered on the third down play? Or no, actually no, it's fourth down. Late in the game, you're still kind of have a chance of coming back. But, I mean, and he's just too conservative. It was 4th and 3 at the 50-yard line. You have a little bit of momentum. You're down 14. It's before the half. You got to go for that. I mean, if you're not going for that in a playoff game, if you miss it, so what? But I'm trusting Tom Brady with the ball. I think he would have delivered on that play. And I think that's the thing. Todd Bowles didn't trust him. Bruce Arians trusted him in the seasons before. He wanted the ball downfield, and that's the reason why this team was good, because they were an effective down-the-field team with two great receivers. And Julio Jones, what a game he had today. I mean, for not playing most of the season and being forgotten about these last few years, he reminded me of his old self. He was looking great out there, but it was a lackluster performance by the Bucs, and I don't think Brady's retiring. I think he's going wherever Sean Payton goes. That's for sure.
And is that where your allegiances are going to go then too, Ryan?
Yes, I will be going to whatever team Tom Brady goes to. Respectfully, I can't watch the Buccaneers anymore with Todd Bowles as their head coach. Maybe they fire Todd Bowles and they get Sean Payton down in Tampa and Brady stays, but I don't think they would do that.
I have one request to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Either retire, go home, spend time with the kids, or go to a different team. This Buccaneers stuff ain't working out anymore. And to Donovan Smith, get lost. Go somewhere, refresh your mind, because I don't know what you're doing, but you had 76 penalties this entire season. I understand you're a rookie, but that is unacceptable. You say it, I mean, you just cannot do that. And I don't know why they're not trying to, put two guys on Micah Parsons. I don't know what Todd Bowles is doing, but the Buccaneers are an absolute mess. They've reverted back to the Jameis Winston days at this point. And Tom Brady,
whoa,
go
whoa.
home.
Tom Brady ain't no Jameis Winston out here. He didn't throw 30 picks this year. Okay?
I'm just saying. I mean,
they're going back to the old Bucs ways of being very dysfunctional. That is correct. And why they're the most losing franchise in the NFL.
Yeah. And Tom Brady, go to a different team or just go home. Call it quits. You got nothing else to prove.
Not like he has a wife to go home to.
Yeah. What a season this turned out to be that.
Yeah. Good thing he sacrificed his marriage for a first round exit.
Mm-hmm.
An 8-9 season. Oof.
Yeah. Oof. Definition of oof.
Scott, you got something to say? I didn't really watch this game.
I only got to see part of it because I had to go coach my incredible 5th and 6th grade basketball team. But yeah, just echoing what all you guys said, and I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I will say real quick, just looking at this box score right now, I think it's time to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. 13 carries, 27 yards. That's 2.1 yards per carry. I just feel like he's kind of slow. He doesn't have that same jump as he used to back when he was a little bit younger, a little bit less fat. And I think it's time to turn over the reins to Tony Pollard in that backfield.
They fed him a little too much.
Yeah.
I definitely do agree that Tony Pollard should be taking over that backfield, but I think they should still keep Zeke around because he's still a great pass blocking running back, and Pollard can't do anything. I mean, during the game, he was getting run over whenever he had to try and help, and Zeke would stand his ground. So I think they should keep him around, but I think it's one more year for Zeke, and I think they should let him go.
Yeah, and I will also say that I think Zeke brings, the power running aspect. If you need, 2 yards for, first down, for, converted fourth down, you need someone to power it through. That's where you bring Zeke. And I think Pollard works great, not only as a receiving back, but he's explosive, he's fast, very elusive. But I think you still keep Zeke, as Brian mentioned, for, not only pass blocking, but also, that he's able to bring that, the power running aspect into the Cowboys running game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Here's the thing, though. If you're just having Zeke for, power running and pass blocking, I feel like you can get that a lot cheaper than, you can draft a 4th round running back to do just that. That's what Brian Robinson was drafted for in this past draft. He was the sole reason he was drafted was because he was a big guy, 6'1", 230, and he could pass block. And at this point, I think you can find that in the 4th round, the 5th round for a fraction of what you're paying Zeke. Zeke's name, incredible. He's going to sell tickets. He's going to sell jerseys, but is he going to win you football games? No, he's not. So
not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. What once was incredible, but we're not there anymore.
For sure.
Yep.
So now we could just move on. I think real quick, just for the sake of time, we're already over the 40-minute mark. I think we could each one of us could real quick just say who you think based off of that first week, or maybe you think it's a team that had a bye is going to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to start. I'm going to stick with my original pick, the Niners. I thought they looked good, offense, defense, and I think they'll bring it home.
I want to stick with my Bills pick, even though it didn't look incredible after the first week of playoff games. But if it's not the Bills, just I don't know. I think I'm just going to stick with the Bills just for now. If the Bills lose this week against Cincy, then I'll probably move to – I don't really know, actually. But I'm going to stick with the Bills for now. Yeah. Stick with my pick.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think, coming off the bye, they're going to be energized. You still have, the offensive mastermind in Andy Reid. On the sidelines, you got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. And you also have the monster tight end, first ballot Hall of Famer in Travis Kelce, who's still instilling fear in all defensive players. So yeah, I'm still going with the Chiefs. They don't have that wide receiver one, but I think the way that Mahomes has been playing, spreading the wealth around, I think Jarrett McKinnon has really been coming alive as a pass catcher these past few weeks. And that defense is looking a lot better. Chris Jones had an outstanding season. And that defense, it's not great, but I think it can still hold up against some of the more explosive offenses like the Bills or the Bengals.
Definitely. I'm gonna rock with my man, my new quarterback if Brady retires, Joe Shiesty, baby. He's winning it all this year. They lost last year. I think they win that game if they just have one offensive lineman that was better than anyone on that line last year. I mean, Jesse Bates is an unbelievable safety. He's top 5. I think he's very underrated in this league. Trey Hendrickson is a underrated pass rusher. He was getting to the quarterback all night. But the only concern I'm going to have is going to be Eli Apple. I mean, he's an okay corner, but I mean, he gets burned way too often. He got burned for an easy touchdown against the Ravens with the worst wide receivers in the league, probably, if not bottom 5. Like, as long as Eli Apple is able to not get burned in a game, I think the Bengals will win the Super Bowl this year. But out of the NFC, it would be the 49ers. I mean, but I think it's going to be the Bengals.
I could see the Eagles coming out of the NFC too, though. Like, they're a very well-built team with not very many holes. It just depends on how well they can bounce back with Jalen Hurts getting back in the lineup. If they can go back to the way they were playing before, like earlier in the season, once with Jalen Hurts back, then I don't see a reason why the Eagles wouldn't be able to make it to the Super Bowl for sure. For sure. So I don't know.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, does that segue us into our next topic?
Yeah.
We're going to go with a little NBA action, which we haven't done in a little bit. I forget whose idea this was. I think it was Gleeson's idea. For the 4 of us to go through our top 5 players in the NBA right now.
Do you guys want to do it?
Go first.
Wait, do you guys want to do it how like we each say our number 5, we each say our number 4, or do we all want to just say our rankings? Or how about should we each talk about our rankings and just talk about it, or like how are we gonna do this?
I feel like we should go like each of us say our number 1, each of us say our number 2, each of us say our number 3.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Do you guys want to start at 1 or start at 5?
Start at 5.
All right, let's let Moulik go first, considering he is the NBA expert here compared to the rest of us.
All right, so at number 5, I'm gonna go with a tie here. For Tatum or
Wait, hold
Kevin
on.
Durant. All right, I need to pick. Okay. I'll go Tatum. Tatum at 5.
Okay.
Who was the other player you were thinking about?
KD.
Okay. Wow. Actually. Hi. I will go with my number 5. It's going to be LeBron. I mean, he's playing unbelievable at the age of 39, I think he is, or 38. He's leading this Laker team. I think if Anthony Davis comes back healthy, Russell Westbrook's playing well, I think they do have a shot at making the playoffs. And I think if they make the playoffs, they're going to be a very annoying team to deal with.
My number 5, it was between 2 players for me. It was between Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid. And it's just really tough. The top 7 guys are all so hard to rank. Like, you could really make an argument for any of them, but I think I'm going to put Kevin Durant at 5.
Yeah, you just mentioned Joel Embiid. I totally forgot about Embiid, but he would be in the conversation for number 5. And for me at number 5, I'm going to agree with Moulik. I'm going with Jason Tatum from the Celtics. I toyed with the idea of tossing Steph Curry there, but as of late, battling that injury, he hasn't looked as impressive. So I'm going to go with Tatum.
You got number 4, Moulik?
All right, number 4, I'm going to go with Giannis.
What?
For this season, I'm not talking about he's been very dominant the past 2 seasons. I just feel like this season, and a lot of it has to do with the overall team roster. They're decimated by injuries, and they're really missing Chris Middleton right now. But I for this year, I'm going to put Giannis at number 4 right now.
That's fair, but like I guess the way I view rankings is I will like obviously weigh the current year and the current version of that player like the most, but I'm still gonna be considering their past year, past 2 years, just because we know how good of a player they are. You're not gonna just suddenly fall off a cliff, and Giannis hasn't fallen off a cliff at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fair
I don't
enough.
know, but like, yeah, if you're just deciding to value this 1 year a lot more, then that's totally valid by you. So
So for my number 4, I was deciding between my 3 and 4 on who to put at 3 and 4. But at number 4, I'm going to go with Luka. I mean, he is an unbelievable player. He plays the game totally different than anyone else. He doesn't use any athletic ability. He's showing
Because
out
he
for
doesn't
these white
have any.
guys. I know.
what do you mean?
He
He's got
doesn't.
the highest vertical on the Mavericks, right?
But I mean, he's playing great right now. He's carrying a terrible Mavericks team right now to be in the playoffs. And I think anytime you're going to face Luka, you're going to have a problem with him because he's going to drop 30 in every single playoff game, if not high 20-point games, because you just can't stop him because he moves so different compared to everyone else. And I think he's just unbelievable.
I'm going to agree with you, Ryan. I've got Luka at number 4. The only thing holding him back is that his play style is just so ball dominant. It's so like I'm just trying to think about how he would mesh with another star, how he would convert to like winning basketball with another star. Like he's amazing at carrying a team. He's an amazing floor raiser, but how high is he going to push the ceiling on a team? I don't know. That's why I have him at 4. But you just can't you can't look past the fact that he's just putting out some video game like numbers every single night, and it's unreal. But yeah, he's gonna be at number 4.
Was unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I also have Luka at 4. 34 points a game on 50% shooting, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. MVP numbers as of right now.
All right.
All right. For number 3 here, I'm gonna go with the troll monster Embiid.
Really?
Interesting.
He's
top 10 in defensive win shares right now. Offensively, having a monster season. I think he's number 2 right now in the scoring, or he might be number 1. I'm not sure.
He's tied with Luka, I'm pretty sure, for number 1.
But top 3 in defensive win shares. He has been dominant both ends of the court. And yeah, I mean, I think right now, I'm just considering it overall. I'd put Embiid at 3.
Yeah, no. I think James Harden is definitely helping Embiid. I think that it takes a huge load off of Embiid, and he's able to just go ridiculous down in the paint because there's no center that can guard him in the league. But for my number 3, I'm going to have Kevin Durant. Before his injury, he was playing unbelievable. He was carrying that Brooklyn team. He's been playing amazing defense this season, something people underlook in his game, I think, in the past. I think he's always been a pretty solid defender, but this year he's been playing great. He's been able to deal with the headache Kyrie Irving. I mean, Kyrie still is a great player, but Kyrie is a headache to deal with. And I think Kevin Durant was going on an unbelievable stretch where he's shooting super efficiently, which he always does because he can shoot over anybody. Like, you can't block him at all, and you can't defend him. But yeah, so he's going to be my number 3.
My number 3 is going to be Steph Curry. And I think that despite like the Warriors not performing the way you want them to and just that whole situation there, I think that what Steph Curry's done this year, he's scoring nearly 30 points a game on an incredibly efficient clip, and he's playmaking well. He's playing pretty good defense. He's moving without the ball incredibly well. He's just doing Steph Curry things, and I think that, and he's just an incredible player, and I think he's not going to fall out of the top 3 anytime soon.
Yeah.
For me, at number 3, I've got reigning MVP Nikola Jokic. Triple-double machine. Bit of an unconventional play style as well as Luka. But I think it's pretty hard to leave Jokic out of definitely the top 5, even the top 3. I feel like it's pretty hard to leave him out of there. Yeah, I mean, Moves the ball super well on offense. Is the best player on the best team in the league right now. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Yeah. At number 2, I am going to go with the Joker. Best team in the. I think they have maybe the second best record in the NBA overall, but tied for first in the West. He is obviously can't jump to save his life. But the things he's able to do offensively, the vision he has passing the ball, and the touch he has in the post and for layups, I think what he is able to do carrying the offensive load for the Nuggets, it's just pretty extraordinary.
So my number 2 is going to be Steph Curry. I think he's still the best point guard in the league. He is the reason that Golden State team went to the finals last year. He showed it because he's finally got his finals MVP deserved. Should have won it over Iguodala that one year, but don't need to talk about that. And I mean, he was shooting unbelievably efficient, just like Scott was saying earlier. He's passing the ball better than he has any time in his career. He's rebounding the ball really well for how small he is, and he's playing some great defense that I think is going underlooked. I mean, for how small and how bad people say he is at defense, he's not a liability on that Golden State team on defense. I think Klay Thompson's that liability now.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that so far is that means that you're either leaving out Giannis or you're leaving out Jokic. I'm not sure which one it is, but you just left one of those guys off your list.
I'll explain my reasoning after.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see. But my number 2, I'm going to agree with Moulik. I'm going to have Nikola Jokic, and it's just because he's playing. He's such a good passer. He's such a good scorer. Like, he's not averaging the 30 points per game or whatever that some of these other guys are, but he's more than capable of doing that. He's averaged 26 plus in years past, and he's averaging like 25, 24 this year. But he's doing that at the most efficient rate he's done in his entire career. He's averaging 69% true shooting, which is unreal. It's literally some of the best true shooting numbers we've seen at this high volume of all time. Like, it's really, really nice. And he's really good. And his defense isn't even bad. Like, people will say, like, oh, Nikola Jokic, he's not a great defender. He's like he can be a liability on that end. But no, he's got really quick hands. He's a big body to body up defenders in the offensive players in the post. And I don't know. I really like Nikola Jokic's game. He's just a really fun player to watch, and he's leading this Nuggets team.
Yeah, for me at number 2, I've got Giannis. I'm not even Antetokounmpo.
You can say it. You can say
you can say it.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
If you can't say it at this point, Cooper, Giannis has been in the league too long, too successful. You've got to be able to say his name.
I got the Greek Freak at number 2. Probably the most dominant player in the NBA right now. He can bring the ball up. He can back down people in the post. He can run the fast break. The only thing he really can't do is shoot threes. But he's obviously a defensive player of the year candidate year in and year out. And yeah, I think the only thing that really holds me back from putting him at number 1 is the fact that in years past, I don't know as much of this year because Middleton's been hurt, but in years past, when the Bucks were down late game or tied late game, the player that they would have taking the late game shots wouldn't be Giannis, it would be Chris Middleton. And I think that Giannis has got to show that he can close out games a little bit more before I can put him at number 1.
My number 1 is the slowest, but also the baddest white man in the NBA, Luka Doncic. I know that he is very ball dominant, and the offense is stagnant at times. He also cannot run to save his life. But the things he's able to do, offensively, he's leading his team in rebounding. Obviously the assists are there and the scoring. the way he's able to put his team on his back, and put him in a position to, be in the playoffs is pretty remarkable. And I don't think when you look at everything that he's doing on the offensive end, Jokic comes, pretty close to it, but Luka with his scoring prowess, I think supersedes it.
Definitely. And so my number one is going to be Giannis.
No Jokic in your top.
No.
Go on.
Giannis is the most dominant player in the NBA right now. He can't really be guarded. The only way you can guard him is by trying to take charges from him. But no one wants to do that because then they're going to be injured for like 3 weeks. He's just a brute. Like, it's unbelievable. He can do everything on both sides of the floor besides for shoot, but I think he's developing it really well over the years. He's working on it, and I think in a few years he's going to be unstoppable because I think he'll be able to have a decently consistent 3-point shot, and I think that will really help out that Bucks team.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with that. I'm putting Giannis as my best player in basketball, mostly because he's basically just me on the court, if I'm being completely honest.
Right, yeah.
But,
okay, white man can't joke.
But yeah, Giannis is extremely dominant. He's on both ends of the floor, incredible defender, and pushes the pace on offense, and is able to just bully his way through anybody. And his mid-range game is evolving too, which is forcing people to actually have to guard him out there, and just makes him a more versatile threat. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the 3-point shot yet, and honestly, his efficiency's down this year, which is a little bit concerning because his free throw shooting and his 3-point shot is less consistent than it has been in years past. But I still think he's dominant enough on both ends of the floor that I want to have him up there. Plus I just like Giannis, so he's my number one player.
Sure. To close out all of our lists, at number one for me, I've got the best scorer in NBA history. He can do it all on offense. He can drive in. He can shoot the mid-range. He can shoot the three. Got the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant.
Interesting.
By far the best offensive player in the NBA. Kevin Durant absolutely carries this Nets team when he's out there on the floor. With his recent injury, you can really see the impact that he makes on his team's success, because ever since he's gone down with that injury, this Nets team has just looked not good at all. And they've been losing to bad teams. I don't know what else to say. I mean, Kevin Durant, a couple of years ago when he ruptured his Achilles, people were talking about how there was a chance that he would never walk again. He would never be able to run again. He would never be able to jump again. And he rehabbed from that injury and came back even better than he was before. So I think that's pretty impressive.
I don't have any gripes with putting Kevin Durant at number one, but my only issue is, there is a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan, right? 10 scoring titles. Just saying, probably is the greatest scorer of all time.
Number two.
Okay.
Number one.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, you said that he was the best offensive player in basketball right now. I don't know about that. I'd say that Jokic is a better offensive player because he's more efficient. He doesn't have quite the volume.
KD can literally do everything he wants, like anything.
He's not the passer that Jokic is, though.
That's fair.
Jokic's passing is overrated. Chill out.
Okay, Mr. Jokic not in the top 5. Yeah, I don't even know if
can you explain that?
Yeah.
How could you possibly justify that?
So my reasoning for Jokic not being in my top 5 is the team that is around him is the second best built team in the NBA, in my opinion, with having just everything Jokic needs around him. He has shooters. He's got people who can play faster. And he's able to he's just able to sit in the paint because their team is able to space it out. And I don't think he is as good of a scorer as Giannis, Curry, KD, Luka, or LeBron. I think, and my big thing is NBA players now, it's majority about scoring. Like, you need to do most and everything in the NBA, But if you're a better scorer, you're going to be more viewed better in my eye because scores are what wins you championships. Past years, LeBron, Jason Tatum, Giannis, Curry, Durant. Before that, you had Jordan, you had Kobe, you had Duncan. That's a very unconventional one, to be honest, but that team was just run too perfectly to not win championships. Shaq, and just
Magic?
Magic, yeah, Bird. I mean, there's a bunch of names I'm going to forget about right now, but I think him not being as, I don't think he's a good enough scorer to be in my top 5 because I think scoring is the most important part of basketball right now with the games involving. So that's the reason why. And also, he's got a giant nose and he's way too fat.
What is that?
He's way too fat, okay? There's no world where someone that fat should be playing in the NBA, okay? Shaq got that fat and he became terrible. If Jokic slowed down, he'd be even more dominant. I think he'd be in my top 5.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'd agree with you about the importance of scoring right now in the NBA, but I just think the volume at which Jokic is creating for his teammates, he doesn't really need to score that much because he's able to create that much for his teammates. And he kind of just outlined it. I mean, the shooters that they have, Michael Porter Jr., KCP right now for shooting 45% from 3, but the Lakers regret that decision. But because they have all of the shooters around Jokic, he's able to create at such a volume. And I mean, Aaron Gordon's having a career year, but in a large part, that is because of Jokic. The looks that he's able to get him, in the paint, he is making his teammates better. And I would say if you look at overall points created, Jokic would probably be somewhere in the top 5 because of just the amount of points he's able to create based off assists.
Yeah.
To add on to that point, Moulik, Jokic, the reason he's not having the volume, the reason he's not having the volume that these other scorers have, he's not averaging that 30 points per game, 33 that KD's averaging, the 33 that Luka's averaging, 33 that Embiid's averaging or whatever. He's averaging 25 points per game on 69% true shooting. And that efficiency right there shows that he's capable of just getting any bucket he wants whenever he wants it. And he's just making the right play and the right decision every single play. The Nuggets right now are the 6th highest scoring team in the league, but also the number 1 most efficient team in the league with 50.9% field goal percentage, which is number 1, like I said, and the number 1 3-point shooting team with 39.9% per game. And you might say, oh, that's just because his team around him is really good. Yeah, the team around him is good, but who makes his teammates even better because of that? Jokic. Jokic is the one who's finding his teammates for easy looks, finding cutters, finding skip passes, finding all these incredible ways to deliver his teammates the ball efficiently that he's able to run. I would argue that the Nuggets are the best offense in basketball right now with their volume paired with their efficiency. And because of that, they're atop the Western Conference right now. Jokic is a 2-time MVP for a reason, and I think he has a better argument for being the best player in basketball than outside the top 5. Easily.
And then one other thing I'm actually going to add to my take is he comes up short in the playoffs, and playoffs are a huge thing for me. All these people I have in my top 5 are huge playoff performers. Jokic isn't a huge playoff performer. He's lost both years before the second round or earlier. I think if you're a top 5 player, you should be able to take your team at least past the second round consistently. But I mean, that's just me.
All this score, but you're talking about score.
He has been past the second round, technically speaking. I mean, he has been to Western Conference Finals.
And you said that all the players in your top 5 perform in the playoffs, but I mean, one of the guys that you said is 4 and 6 in the finals. So
guess what? He's made the finals 10 times. I mean, that's performing in the playoffs. He has the most points. I think he's either first or second in points per games in the playoffs. You're not going to tell me LeBron isn't a top 2 playoff performer of all time.
I think he's 6th in points per game in the playoffs, but he is first overall in total points scored.
Okay.
And also, you're talking about how scoring is what wins you games and how you want a guy that's going to score you points in the playoffs to win the series. Literally last year in the playoffs, Jokic averaged 31 points per game on 58% field goal percentage.
He's getting guarded by Kevon Looney, okay? And Draymond Green.
Okay.
Draymond Green's
Draymond's a good
goat.
defender.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Draymond literally won a Defensive Player of the Year
donkey.
and was a
Old
top
donkey.
5 defender in basketball last year. And he averaged, and in the year before that against Portland, he averaged 33 points per game in the playoffs. And then the year before that against Phoenix, he averaged 25. So yeah, it's a little less, but still very, very good numbers. Like he can score the ball very on high volume and high efficiency, and he leads one of the best offenses in basketball. I just don't understand the argument for him outside the top 5. Like the only legitimate argument that you said was the fact that you think he's ugly and slow, and like, that doesn't matter. So,
I do want to give out some honorable mentions. Jason Tatum definitely should be considered for top 5. Why are you laughing at Jason Tatum?
No, I'm not laughing.
Just totally changed the subject.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at the fact that we're just putting out all these valid points, and then you're just like, okay. So, anyways,
it's never gonna go anywhere. That's fine.
That's the reason why, because I'm not going to change my mind, so there's no point in arguing about it. Jason Tatum should be honorable mention. He's playing great this year. He's starting to slow down a little bit compared to what he was doing in the beginning of the year, but the team is still going to be dominant in the playoffs, and I think they can make it back to the finals, definitely out of the East, but it's going to be tough because the East this year is looking very, very good. Joel Embiid, he's just outside of it for me. I wanted to put him in there. I couldn't put him over certain guys, and is there anyone else I'm missing that could be honorable mention for the play?
I think that those 7 guys.
Maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but if you just considered this season, maybe just maybe it's a little bit debatable, but
I think Zion's getting up there.
Yeah, Zion's getting up there.
I would argue that the first guy out, like I think the top 7. Okay, I have my list pulled up right here. I think that the top 7 guys are in any order. Giannis, Jokic, Curry, Doncic, Durant, Embiid, Tatum. And then I think that the 8th
LeBron
guy...
at 8?
No. I think that the 8th guy, first man out of that list, is Donovan Mitchell. I think that Donovan Mitchell is just incredible. You don't drop a 70-point willing your team to victory in
Bulls
overtime.
got screwed over, but that's
I mean, the Bulls don't have a perimeter defender right now, so... Caruso is overrated as a perimeter defender, that's for sure. He was so great, he wouldn't have let Donovan Mitchell drop 71.
Did he even play in that game?
I'm pretty sure he did.
I want to see if I can find this.
Yeah. Well.
We're getting a little low on time right here. So if anyone has any closing statements, things that they wanted to say that they didn't get a chance to, now's your chance. If not, I can just close this out.
Alex Caruso played 17 minutes in that game.
Maybe that's the reason why he scored 71. Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, wait, no, that was a different game. Whoops. That was the first time they met. Okay, here's the one. Let's see how much he played. Alex Caruso played 22 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just because it was overtime, so he just played an extra 5 minutes. But yeah. Anyways, anybody have anything to add?
I think we're good. I'm at least good.
I'm good too.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Moulik and Ryan, for coming onto the show. Hopefully we'll have you back on at some point because this was a really good episode. I think we got some really funny,
our funniest.
Yeah,
episode.
definitely our funniest episode. We got some really good moments. We got some really good debate, some hot takes. Just having these extra opinions in there just definitely makes it more interesting. So yeah, we'd love to have you on some other time probably. And yeah, thanks. Thank you for listening. Please check us out on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify. And thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to be the next guest to come on, comment down below on the YouTube, comment on our Instagram, get in touch with us. Just let us know. Thank you guys for watching, listening, however you're taking this in. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Appreciate you guys having us on.
Yep. Thank you for having us on.
For sure.
Of course. All right. Thank you.